What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chasing Data. I already give it away with the team in the background here, but as you know, if you haven't stopped by before, we've been breaking down all 32 teams, reverse order of our power rankings, and we're finally to the top 10. It's been a long grind, especially in this offseason. We're down to 12 Sundays left until we have football back, and it can't come any more quickly. If you're new to the show, what we've been doing in the offseason is breaking down these teams, looking at their additions, their subtractions, their strengths, weaknesses, their draft, analyzing that draft. Did they really pick up what they needed? What else do they need on these teams? Do they still have money to spend in the short offseason that we have left? What's the best and worst outcomes for these teams? And what's my most realistic expectation for these teams? This show is based in analytics and numbers more than X's and O's. So if you're stopping by for the first time, be sure to follow, like, and subscribe, and we'll get right into it. So what we do every week before we get started is we will look at, let's see. Well, it's going to be what it's going to be for tonight. There it is. Might be a little covered up there, but that's okay. Let's see. There we go. Save. There we go. Now, so a little pregame warm-up just to discuss what we have seen happen in the NFL in the last week. First off, I'm a Ravens fan. I mean, I cover the entire NFL, but Ravens fan at heart. Getting Jair Alexander to the Ravens is such a huge ordeal, such a huge deal for me as a Ravens fan and for the playoff push in the AFC, the path to the Super Bowl in the AFC. So like I said, Jair Alexander is going to the Baltimore Ravens. They get him on an extremely cheap contract. The biggest hole on this roster was CB2. And now that they filled that, they have Marlon Humphrey, they have Jair Alexander, they have Kyle Hamilton, they have Roquan Smith. They have so many household names on this defense now. I mean, he can play 8 games in the regular season and just be ready for the playoffs. And I would be completely content with that. We went from last year, starting in 2024, with Marcus Williams and Brandon Stevens to now having Malachi Starks and Jair Alexander. Quite the upgrade, as long as they can stay healthy and make it to the playoffs. See what they can do in the playoffs once they are there. The only other piece of news that has happened this week is CJ Mosley has retired, 33 years old. Great linebacker. He's declined in the last few years. Think of him as a Jet. Raven as well, but 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro linebacker. Not much going on. We're in the slow days of the offseason, so not too much to talk about with news going on at this point. So we went through 12 teams already. Here's our power rankings from 32 all the way up to 12. I update these each week as we go through the season, or the offseason, I should say. I had Pittsburgh at 22 before Aaron Rodgers. I still have them there. I mean, yeah, you probably could move them up maybe 19 at the most. I mean, you're picking nits right there with those teams. I still feel comfortable with what I have here as far as the rankings go. The Titans just had so many holes. They had no offensive weapons. I mean, Cam Ward is quite the upgrade, but they lost their defense. Their defense was terrible to begin with, and they still are. So that's what we have for the top 12. Number 11, if you haven't already noticed my background, it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this is the number 1 team in the NFC South. I have the Falcons at 21, the Panthers at 24, and the Saints at 30. So this is probably going to be the biggest gap between 1 and 2 within a division, if I had to guess. Hadn't really looked at it closely, but I do believe that may be the biggest gap in between 2 teams in a division. So, like I said, Tampa Bay Bucs. Let's see. Last season, 10-7. Their current over-under for the 2025 season is 9.5 wins. So right at where they were at last year. They have the 13th best odds to win the Super Bowl at plus 2,800. They have the 7th best odds to win the conference at plus 1,300, and they have the best odds, which is a given, to win the NFC South at plus 100. one of the best odds of all teams in the NFL to win their division. Last year they started 4-2. They lost 4 straight. Then they won 6 of 7 to end the season. So definitely got on a hot streak. They had Todd Bowles is still their head coach. Been there for a few years now. His worst defensive yards per game in the 6 years that he's been in Tampa Bay as a defensive coordinator or a head coach was 19th and 14th. Other than that, he's been top 10 every year. So the average in 6 years is a little bit worse than 9th. But, I mean, that's ideal for your average defense to be basically the 9th best defense every year. 5 straight years in the playoffs. So, I mean, why would they stop now? I'm sure a lot of people question why I have them number 11, but we're going to get into the details of why I feel the way I feel about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When we look at their offense, that is the focal point of why they are ranked so high, almost making it to the top 10 for these rankings. They had 29 points per game, 4th best in the league, 393 yards per game, 3rd best. Number 1 in 3rd down conversion, 51%. Number 8 in 4th down conversion. Number 4 in red zone scoring percentage. And that's touchdowns. They scored on 2 out of every red zone trips. Ridiculous numbers. And it just wasn't through the air. I mean, Bucky Irving come in. Liam Cohen was there. This run game got flipped upside down in a good way from where they were in 2023 to go to 2024. They were terrible in 2023 on the ground. Then they moved all the way up to 5.2 yards per carry on the ground in 2024, which was the 3rd best. Baker had the best completion percentage in the league for qualifying quarterbacks, obviously. Had 8 yards per pass. I mean, this offense was just rolling on. It was on all cylinders. Defense, average at best. That interior front 4 was obviously good. They gave up the 3rd fewest yards per game on ground. I mean, teams didn't run that much either. They only ran 37% of their plays against them, but they kind of knew what they could not do, which is go against Vita Vea in that front 4. The pass game is a little bit worse, but again, teams passed a lot because they did not want to run on them, so their yards per game is a little skewed. Offensive coordinator is Josh Grizzard. He's from a town called Lizard Lick or something. Grizzard, Lizard, it all runs together. He was the pass game coordinator last year. So, I mean, I feel like in Tampa Bay, they're hoping for more of the same moving forward. I mean, they already had Liam Cohen who left. Are they going to kind of get what they had with him in Josh Grizzard? Defensive coordinator Larry Foote, been there since 2019, defensive coordinator for 3 years. So we kind of know what the defense is going to look like as far as scheme goes. Let's bring up their depth chart. So, as you see here, the purplish pink are drafted players. The orange is free agent signings. Probably the fewest free agent signings out of anybody in the NFL, honestly. And then all the green, if you want to call it that, are undrafted free agents that are on the team as of now. Obviously, these numbers will dwindle down as the season goes along. But additions. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. They re-signed Chris Godwin, who was a huge get. 3 years, $66 million. Top tier management as far as contract goes. I mean, getting him at that number. He was offered more to play in New England, didn't take it. If he's healthy and paired with Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, I mean, and then Egbuka, I mean, this team is ridiculous. We're going to get into their weapons, though. But them getting Chris Godwin back is significant. He had 50 receptions, almost 600 yards, and 5 touchdowns in just 7 games last year. I mean, that's the only player that they really brought back or signed on the offense. They have a backup left tackle in Charlie Heck. But, I mean, outside of that and undrafted free agents, there's nothing really going on with the offense as far as offseason goes as additions in free agency. Move to the defense. The key addition is Hassan Reddick. They get him on a 1-year, $14 million contract, which is 29th in average value. So getting him at that number on a 1-year prove-it deal, he's 31 years old. He had 10-plus sacks from 2020 to 2024. Each season he had 10 or more sacks. 2.26 hurries per game in the last 2 years. I mean, one thing they needed more of was pressure. And if it hits with Hassan Reddick, they definitely got it. They bring Levante David back on a 1-year contract. He is a team leader, solid versus the run. It might be his last year. He's 34 years old now. They also signed Anthony Walker out of Miami, another linebacker. But that's it as far as free agency goes. When you look at their draft, their first round pick they use on Emeka Egbuka, who I had as wide receiver 2, 3, depends on what you consider Travis Hunter. His comp in the NFL was Ladd McConkey. He beats zone all the time. He's an underneath big target. Can get north-south when you need him to. He breaks tackles. He had 80 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns last year. You look at this offensive group. I'm holding off. Let's just talk about the draft. We'll talk about the weapons momentarily. Second round, they take Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback out of Notre Dame. His comp was Carlton Davis, a former Tampa Bay Buck. Some of the knocks on him is that he has shorter arms. He did have the season-ending hip surgery last year. If he didn't have the surgery, he probably would have went higher than what he did to begin with. He can play slot or out wide. You know, like I said earlier, the pass defense on this team was probably the weakest area, if I had to say. He had 9 interceptions in 22 and 23, and he's a great tackler. In the third round, they also shore up that secondary yet again and drafting Jacob Parrish. Some of the scouting profile on him was that he could process complex route combinations. He's rarely fooled. He can anticipate passes very well. And then in the fourth round, get another linebacker in David Walker. No relation to Anthony Walker. He finished last year in 12 games. He had 55 pressures, 25 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 41 QB hurries. He was the first player in the 29-year program history at Central Arkansas to win the Buchanan Award. Outside of that, they get Elijah Roberts in the 5th round. And then in the 7th round, they got someone whose draft stock just dropped tremendously from the combine up until draft day, and that's Tez Johnson. He tested terribly. He was, I think it was for players that weighed 180 or less. He was the slowest one of all. He ran like a 5-something 40, extremely slow for his size. But some of his strengths is that he has the ability to accelerate and decelerate. It's just that 40-yard dash time doesn't really reflect that. He's got a lot of value in the punt return game, RPO option. He's like, you put him in a phone booth. He's very elusive. They just have so much depth in this wide receiver room. Again, we're going to come back to this. Subtractions. Out of every team that I've talked about, this team has had the fewest subtractions of note. Really of anybody, but of noteworthy players, definitely the fewest. The one that even means anything was Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who had just 2 sacks in 15 games last year. You replace him with Hassan Reddick. It's an easy choice to choose Hassan Reddick over Tryon-Shoyinka. Looking at the strengths of this team, them having at least an average quarterback on his worst day and can be a top 5 quarterback on any given day is definitely a strength. Baker Mayfield has definitely improved from where he was at in years past. And if the offense runs like it did last year under Liam Cohen, this is definitely still a strength. The biggest strength is probably the number of weapons they have on this team is ridiculous. You just start at wide receiver 1 with Mike Evans. He reached 1,000 yards for the 11th consecutive season. That tied Jerry Rice for the longest such streak in NFL history and extending his record streak of 1,000-yard seasons to start a career. Are we ever going to see this again? I don't know. It's pretty ridiculous. That's wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 2 is Chris Godwin, who they just re-signed. And before he went down, I want to say he led the league in first down percentage with his catches. He's just such a go-to reliable target in the pass game. Wide receiver 3, who is it going to be? Is it Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan? You can't really go wrong with either one of them, I want to say. Jalen McMillan, he recorded from week 14, he kind of blew up at the end of the year. From week 14 to the end of the season, he had 6 receptions for 137 yards just on go routes. 4 of his receptions went for touchdowns, which was the most in the NFL over that span, tied with Justin Jefferson and Mark Andrews. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, his growth and the way his stock just increased greatly over the last few weeks of the season was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Wide receiver 4, 3B is Egbuka. I mean, they're going to have 4 receiver sets, I feel like, on 50% of their plays. I mean, this is ridiculous, this wide receiver room. They just kept getting stronger. And then what is Tej Johnson going to do? He's going to have some role in this offense at some point, I'm sure. And then, I mean, after that, you have Trey Palmer and Sterling Shepard, who are 2 names that you still know about. Your wide receiver 6 and 7 are names that you know about. You cannot go through most of the depth charts in the NFL and have that type of thing happen. Then you look at in the backfield, and you have Bucky Irving, who was one of the top rookies last year, coming in from the 4th round. He had over 1,100 yards on the ground. This running game had 74 explosive plays, which is the 3rd most in the NFL. I mean, this guy was just ridiculous. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry on rushes outside the tackles, which was the fifth most among qualifying running backs, and 5.3 yards on rushes inside the tackles, which was the 2nd most among running backs. Only he, Saquon, and Gibbs were the only running backs in the NFL to average 5+ yards per carry on either direction. Ridiculous. Inside, outside tackles. Crazy. Just absolutely crazy. The O-line is not a weakness for sure. They had the 2nd best. They were average. All right, we'll talk about sacks first. Part of that's on Baker Mayfield. But they were 16th in sacks allowed. They had the 2nd best quarterback pressure percentage rate allowed. It was like 32%. I mean, so that right there shows you that they did not – the sack numbers are a little skewed just because they threw the ball so much in this offense. You're going to have more sacks if you have more dropbacks. Easy math. But when you look at the – just like the advanced analytics on this team, they were as far as the offense goes, they were 5th in EPA per play at plus 0.08. 0.12 EPA per pass, which was 4th, and 0.04 EPA per rush, which was 5th. I mean, they were just all around good on offense. The defense, as far as strengths go, definitely not the strength of this team for sure. But when you look at the depth chart, I mean, Vita Vea, definitely a defensive star at the interior, so strong, can just control the line of scrimmage. You have him. Now you have Hassan Reddick, maybe. This secondary needs to improve, but not. They have some names that could be big names on the defense. Levante David's getting older. These names, they have had highs and lows. Some weeks they're good, some weeks they're not so much. I mean, you think about the highs of Jamil Dean, Antoine Winfield Jr., Yaya Diaby. I mean, we already talked about Levante David. Kalijah Cansey had a great second season. Sorry, not rookie season. Not getting what you wanted out of Logan Hall, but Vita Vea's there, like I said. On the flip side of that, the weaknesses on this team is that the defense does have holes. They have players that could be great, but they also have holes. They were 15th in EPA per play allowed, 20th versus the pass with EPA per pass, 19th in EPA per rush, but they did have 6th most sacks. Makes sense to me? Not really sure. 2nd most pressures, 3rd highest blitz rate, though. That's how they were getting a lot of their pressures. The defense, I mean, it did receive an offseason overhaul for sure. Many people wanted, that elite edge rusher in round 1, and they decided to go free agency and later in the draft to get that edge player. I mean, they're trying to get back to the days where Shaq Barrett was that outside rusher who was doing great on that front 4. I mean, they bolstered the linebacker core, and they reinforced the secondary. I mean, both very critical. But, I mean, Todd Bowles, we know he's going to blitz ridiculously, and he needs that flexibility to have some creative schemes in this defense. I mean, there's still uncertainty. I mean, if the cohesion is there by midseason, this is definitely going to look good for them going into the second half of the season. Tight end is the weakness. I mean, Cade Otton's not the best. But there's not really. We're getting into the top. We're at team number 11, so there's not going to be many weaknesses. When you look at the cap situation for this team, they have over $288 million committed, which is the fourth least. They don't really have bad contracts. Once you get to this tier of team, they don't really have bad contracts anymore. Their top players as far as 2025 money goes is Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, Vita Vea, Jamil Dean, and Hassan Reddick. They still have $30 million in cap space. And when you look at the names that are still available, some of the players they could bring in, Asante Samuel. I feel like Asante Samuel could go to any of these teams that are remaining and just be so much help, especially when you have this much money to spend. Outside of that, there's not really anyone that I see them bringing in. They save that, hold on to that money until an injury pops up maybe. They have $33 million in dead money, which is right about average in the league. And majority of that is to Shaq Barrett and Ryan Jensen, who retired. Let's look at the schedule of this team. I guess I should have brought that picture up for the draft. There's a draft class, but we're past that now. All right, schedule. Let's see. Hold on, cover it up a little bit. Let me move myself. There we go. All right. So, looking at this schedule, the Bucs have about an average strength of schedule, 14th easiest. Opponents had a .481 win percentage in 2024. So, like I said, average. Week 1 at Atlanta. We're going to go through this quickly and then talk about possible wins on the schedule. Week 2 at Houston, Monday Night Football. Week 3, the Jets at home. They have not started 3-0 since 2005, and it's possible this year. They've had the back-to-back seasons with 4-game slides starting roughly at mid-season before turning it on at the end. They can definitely do that this year. 4 of their final 6 games are at home, which we're going to talk about. And then minimal travel once you get to December is nice for sure. Week 4, Philadelphia at home. Since 2015, the Bucs are 6-1 against the Eagles, including the playoffs, which the Bucs have eliminated the Eagles twice. And last year, the Bucs went 5-4 at home, which was tied with the Rams for the worst home record among playoff teams. The year before, they went 4-4 at home, also the worst record among playoff teams. It could change this year. One of their home opponents actually reached the playoffs and finished with a winning record, and that was the Eagles. And they play them in Week 4, and they have dominated them as of late. Week 5, they go to Seattle. Week 6, San Francisco at home. Week 7, Monday Night Football against the Lions. Final score maybe 82-80. Week 8, at New Orleans. Week 9 is their bye right in the middle of the season. Week 10 is New England at home. Week 11 at Buffalo. Week 12, Sunday Night Football versus the Rams at the Rams. Week 13 is Arizona at home. Week 14 starts 3 straight divisional matchups. New Orleans at home, Thursday Night Football against Atlanta, and then at Carolina in Week 16. Week 17 at Miami, and then finishing the season against Carolina at home. So, you look at that schedule, and you just go through based on just on paper right now. Week 1 at Atlanta. They should win that game. At Houston, let's say it's a toss-up. These teams are very closely, evenly matched on paper. Week 3, the Jets, they should win. Philadelphia, they've dominated them as of late, so let's just stay with it. At Seattle, if this front four is going to do anything, it should do it in Seattle. San Francisco, let's say a toss-up. We can't give them every win. At Detroit, it's going to be hard. At New Orleans, they should win. New England, they should win. At Buffalo, good luck. At the Rams, going to be a tough one. Arizona at home, they should win. New Orleans at home, they should win. Atlanta at home, they should win. Carolina, all right, I don't think they're going to sweep Carolina and Atlanta. So if they go 3-1 and then win against Miami, that's around 11 wins right there. So if you are just a new fan, let's go back to this. There we go. if you're just like a fan of the NFL and you're not really sure, you're trying to find your team and you don't really know much about the Tampa Bay Bucs, some of their names that you should know: Baker Mayfield, we've discussed at length; Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Vita Vea. You start there, you're good. Each team, whenever I go through them, I look at their best odds for MVP and most improved player. So MVP is Baker Mayfield at plus 2,500. Offensive player of the year is Bucky Irving at plus 5,000. I think the wide receivers don't have good numbers as far as the gambling goes because it's so going to be so spread out for sure. Bucky's plus 5,000. Offensive rookie of the year, no one. Because, I'm sorry, defensive rookie of the year, no one. There's no one they drafted that would have reasonable odds. Offensive rookie of the year, Egbuka at plus 4,000. But, it's going to be hard for him to put up great numbers. Even though they're going to pass the ball like crazy, it's going to be so spread out. Benjamin Morrison on the defense. Sorry, defensive player of the year, they had no odds. Defensive rookie of the year, they do, and Morrison at plus 5,000. Who's the most improved player candidate on this team? Let's go back to this. Most improved, probably Hassan Reddick, honestly, even though he wasn't even on the team last year. He's got a lot to prove, especially on that one-year contract. So we're going to say him. Drop-off candidates. Baker Mayfield, maybe? Does Mike Evans ever drop off? What do you consider a drop-off? Him not getting 1,000 yards? Can Baker continue to put up these crazy numbers for him again in 2025? We'll see. X factors on this team. Every team could be the quarterback. We know that, but the defense being a top 15 unit, but who specifically? Again, it could be Hassan Reddick because he could take this team to the next level if he plays like he has 2 to 5 years ago. But if he doesn't, we're back at where we were at last year, probably with this defense. So we're going to finish up the Bucs. All right. Outcomes for the Bucs. Absolute best outcome for the Tampa Bay Bucs is that the offense is a top 3 offense. All these things are not far-fetched. Top 3 offense. They have so much depth. The O-line is good. The run game has a stud in Bucky Irving. The defense is ranked, let's say, 15th average in the NFL. They go through and demolish the NFC South. That, like I said, whenever I went over their schedule, I have them going 5-1 against the NFC South. Sweeping the Saints. And either sweeping the Falcons or the Panthers and going 1-1 against the other. So it puts them at around a 12-5 finish. And anything is possible in the NFC. Once you get in to the final 7, anything's possible. And 12-5 will get them a home game, possibly even 2. We saw the Commanders just get hot at the end of the season, make it to the NFC Championship last year. The Eagles, while still great, are they going to be as great? The Rams are one injury away from being bad. The Lions have lost their offensive and defensive coordinator, and they're all pro center. Who else is left? The Commanders, are they going to keep it up? So, there is a path for them to make it to the NFC Championship for sure. On the other side of that, worst case scenario for the Tampa Bay Bucs is Baker reverts to years past, has the turnovers, he has the sacks. Mike Evans is finally showing his age, doesn't get 1,000 yards. Godwin pops up on the injury list again. The offense is ranked, let's say, 12th to 15th. The defense doesn't get anything out of Hassan Reddick. They drop to maybe the 20th best defense. They're still competing in the NFC South. I think that's the floor for this team, is competing in the NFC South no matter what. But Atlanta and Carolina continue to take a small step forward. I don't think they're going to take a big leap, but they can take a small step. And then we're looking at what we've seen in years past, where this team is 9-8 and fighting for the NFC South to get in come Week 18. My realistic expectation for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is that this offense continues to carry them. They went from Liam Cohen to his protege, who was the pass game coordinator last year, who will continue to probably have this offense running the same way that it was last year. The run game was amazing. It improved tremendously. The pass game was also amazing. They've added more weaponry for Baker Mayfield. Chris Godwin's coming back healthy. They add one of the top talents in the draft for their wide receiver in Ibuka. Bucky Irving could be better in his second year. The offensive line is still great. And this offense could be top 5, realistically, is what I expect. The defense is at minimum average. The NFC South, the remnants or the rest of it, is with the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons are just not there yet. And this team is 10-7, 11-6, winning the NFC South. And like I said earlier, there is a path for them to get to the NFC Championship. Your only competitors are the Commanders, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Rams. Some of them are going to take each other out. The Rams are one injury away. Lions have lost both coordinators. So there's a path. Can the Commanders repeat what they did last year? Not too sure. But that's what I expect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's bring up our rankings again. So here we are. Here we are. There we go. So we've made it through 11 teams. We're to the top 10. We have just 10 teams left. And who's left out of these teams? You have to stick around and find out. But before we get into team number 10, let's take a quick commercial break, only about 30 seconds, and then we'll be back with team number 10.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, team number 10. 1 second, we're going to get right into it. Let's see if we can get some Texans fans in here. Do that. Quote it. Go. All right. Houston Texans. Team number 10. We finally made it to the top 10. I've done a lot of talking about a lot of teams thus far in the offseason. Trying to make it stretch to when the season finally kicks back off. But Houston Texans, team number 10. Let's bring up the rankings again. There they are, team number 10. I actually had them number 11 whenever I started this, and then when I started digging into them, their defense was just so much more dominant than what the Tampa Bay's offense are what I expected to be, and that's what flipped it for me. That's what flipped them being 11-10, honestly, with defense for the Texans. So last year, the Houston Texans were 10-7 also, just like the Tampa Bay Bucs. They also have the same over-under at 9.5. They have the 16th best odds to win the Super Bowl, which is beyond me. I mean, I don't see – they're literally an offensive line away from being potentially the best team in the NFL, having the best roster. So I don't understand why they're 16th best odds right now. They're plus 1,900 to win the conference, which is 8th best, which is ridiculous to me. Because, teams that are above them, Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore. Who else could you just say clear-cut favorites above them for them to be 8th best? It's crazy. Plus 115 to win the AFC South, which is the best odds. So the Bucs have a better odds to win their division than the Texans. Last year he started 6-2, finished 4-6 though. Then they did win their playoff game against the Chargers. Head coach DeMeco Ryans been there for 4 years. His yards per game allowed. Wait, no, not 4 years. He has not been there 4 years, huh? I'm looking at something wrong. 10-7 in both years in Houston. Sorry, 4 years as a defensive coordinator and a head coach. His yards per game allowed are 3rd, 1st, 14th, and 6th. So with that said, I mean, defense has just been great wherever he's at. 10-7 records both years in Houston. The Texans have never won a playoff game 3 years in a row in their 3 years in a row in their franchise history. Could this be the year that they finally do it? Possibly. The offense was average, but mostly due to the fact that their offensive line was absolutely terrible. They were 18th in points per game, 17th in third down conversion, had the 5th worst red zone scoring percentage. The run was not terrible, 4.5 yards per carry. Bobby Slowick was known for running it on first down every time. They had one of the worst sack rates in the NFL, though. That was the problem. We will get into that more momentarily. The defense, 21 points per game, second fewest yards per game. Second fewest yards per game, 8th fewest yards per carry, highest opponent interception rate, 3rd highest sack rate. I mean, defense was what carried this team. We know that. New offensive coordinator this year. Bobby Slowick's out. Nick Caley is in. He's pass game coordinator / tight end coach with the Los Angeles Rams for the last 2 years out of that Sean McVay system. The opposite of what we had in Bobby Slowick. So it's going to be interesting to have him there. Defensive coordinator. I mean, Matt Burke is there, but DeMeco is the defensive coordinator. He's running the defense. We know that. Bring up the depth chart. Here we go. All right, their additions, starting on the offensive side of the ball. Christian Kirk. They traded him within the division from the Jacksonville Jags for a 7th-round pick. He played just 7 games last year, had the injury. 27 receptions, under 400 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he could bounce back. He's a low cost. I mean, not really a risk. He replaces Robert Woods. He's an upgrade over John Mechie. So, I mean, sure, why not? Add him to the group. I mean, Tank Dell's out. On the offensive side of the ball, all the rest, I mean, their offensive line has a lot of orangish yellow on this paper. Cam Robinson is the most notable one, new left tackle. We'll talk about what happened with Laramie Tunsil in a moment. Laken Tomlinson in there probably at left guard. Ed Ingram's brought in. Jake Andrews is brought in. Trent Brown is brought in. I mean, all these players could see snaps for sure sometime this season. The biggest free agent name that they brought in is Nick Chubb. I mean, in 2022, he had over 1,500 yards. Okay, hold up. Nick Chubb is the biggest name as far as free agents that they brought in for this team. Can he be what he was in years past? I mean, he's kind of declined with the injury. But, I mean, you look back at what he's done over the last few years. 2022, he had over 1,500 yards on the ground, 5 yards per carry, and 12 touchdowns. 2023, he played 2 games and had 170 yards. 2024, he comes back from the injury, the gruesome knee injury, has 332 yards on the ground, just 3.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, and almost a 40% success rate. So not what he has been in years past. But can he be that number 2 punch behind Joe Mixon in this offense? The Texans sure hope so, and I'm eager to see what he can do with the likes of C.J. Stroud as his quarterback. On the defensive side of the ball, a lot of backup names. I mean, they just go all in on defense, which is crazy. They also bring in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who they got in that trade with Kenyon Green going to Philadelphia. Was kind of surprised that Philadelphia let Chauncey Gardner-Johnson walk, but they did. They also bring in Sheldon Rankins, depth on the defensive line, Darrell Taylor, defensive lineman, E.J. Speed, backup linebacker. I mean, it's just a lot of names they brought in on the defense. I mean, all right, so the Bucs probably had the least amount of turnover of the remaining teams, top 11 teams in my rankings. The Texans probably had the most turnover on their roster out of the top 10 teams. When you look at their draft, let's actually bring up the picture this time. Whoop, that's not the picture. This is. When you look at their draft, Lord, that's not the picture either. I'm going to get it right eventually. There we go. Looking at their draft, did not have a first-round pick this year. Second round, they take Jaden Higgins. I had him as wide receiver 7. They love their Iowa State wide receivers. His comp was actually Nico Collins. In 2 years, he had 140 receptions, over 2,100 yards, and 15 touchdowns. He has enough speed to beat press. He creates late separation with his hands. He's a big target. So 87 receptions, almost 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns last year. Second round, they go get Arante Ursary, who's a well-versed zone run blocker. Very possibly a starter from day one. We look at the depth chart. What do they have? Oh, wrong depth chart. Depth chart has him as a backup, but I'm not sure he's going to be a backup from day one. Third round, they go get Jalen Noel, another wide receiver from Iowa State. He's known for his explosive speed, sharp route running, strong hands. He's going to be a slot receiver. Probably get some run on special teams as well. Another third-round pick, Jalen Smith, which we're going to the defensive side of the ball right now. I mean, he played multiple positions at USC in their secondary, slot corner, boundary corner, some safety too, can tackle very well. And his one knock on him was that he was susceptible to a lot of double moves in the pass game. Fourth round, they go get Mark Woody. Is he going to get some run in this offense? I mean, they got him as RB4, but anything's possible, especially with running backs. But in 2024, he led the team with over 1,100 yards at USC also. 9 rushing touchdowns, almost 6 yards per carry, started all 13 games. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get some run on this offense. Going back to the depth chart, players that they cut, Shaq Mason. This offensive line was the biggest turnover, obviously. I mean, look at all the new names on this offensive line. Shaq Mason cut. Trade away Laramie Tunsil, who had a ton of penalties last year. Part of the reason I think they traded him, even though he was their best offensive lineman, was the fact that they're trying to get ahead of having to give him that new contract with other new contracts coming up in C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. They just paid Derek Stingley. So, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why they traded him. Kenyon Green is also gone, also traded away. They lost Robert Woods and Jeff Okuda. So, not a ton of talent lost. I mean, they had to focus on the offensive line, and I feel like they did. I know they didn't draft as early and as much as people wanted them to, but they're trying a whole new set of names. And then they have a new offensive coordinator, so who I think can scheme much better around their inefficiencies at the offensive line position. Strengths of this team. C.J. Stroud, number 1. He's a top 6 quarterback in the NFL? He's 6th quarterback to win a playoff game in both of his first 2 seasons. I mean, his numbers did drop off a little bit. Turnovers increased last year. His EPA dropped tremendously, but his time to throw went down. His quarterback pressure rate went up. His sacks went up by 14. So, I mean, it's just – I think this is his settling down year 3. Not going to force it as much. Against the blitz last year, he was better against the blitz than he was when teams did not blitz. So, I don't know. I think he has the talent for sure to be a top 6-ish quarterback in the NFL. His numbers went down all across the board, though. You look at EPA per drop back. Sorry, still talking about C.J. Stroud and how his numbers dropped from 2023 to 2024. He was 13th in EPA per drop back in his rookie year, dropped to 25th in his second year. CPOE, completion percentage over expected, went from 19th to 28th. Success rate went from 15th to 27th. Yards per attempt went from 2nd to 21st. Passer rating went from 6th to 24th. His PFF grade stayed nearly the same. But I feel like he's going to settle down and settle in more, especially with this new system that he's getting with Nick Caley, who's coming from that Sean McVay tree, who can scheme an offense much better than Bobby Slowick could ever dream of. The weapons on this team, they have a ton as well. Nico Collins in 2023 and 2024, he was number one in yards per route run, three yards per route run, targets per route run over 27%, which was the ninth best. He caught 29 passes as an isolated receiver last season for a league-leading 545 yards, 127 more than any other player. He had a plus 164 receiving yards over expected on these targets, which was second most in the NFL. They have weapons in their two Iowa State wide receivers. Joe Mixon, he's a weapon, but his numbers have improved. I mean, honestly, every year they've gotten better. His rush yards over expected per carry. Starting in 2020 and going up to last year, he went from 41st to 27th to 24th to 27th to 19th last year. So 19th, last year was a breakout year for him, even behind this terrible offensive line. He finished with 7 games of 100-plus rushing yards and at least one rushing touchdown in 2024. Only Saquon Barkley, who had 8, had more games like that. It also tied the franchise record in Houston. Dalton Schultz is still a reliable target. He's just very consistent. His last 5 seasons, he's had 600 receiving yards, 800, 500, 600, 500. You know what you're getting out of him. Tank Dell is a weapon one day once he does eventually come back. Strengths on the defense is literally every single position. You could argue linebacker, but this entire defense is just ridiculous. They have 2 players with 11 plus sacks in Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. Between the two of them, they had 148 quarterback pressures. This is just ridiculous. They have Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter, who was outstanding as a rookie. The team had 46 sacks, 14 interceptions, and 10 fumbles recovered. The defense led the NFL in holding opponents to a 58% completion percentage and finished second behind the Vikings in interceptions. They have a top 10 or better cornerback duo in Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. They combined for 8 interceptions, 28 passes deflected, and 112 total tackles. Completion rate below 48% and 5 interceptions in consecutive seasons for Derek Stingley Jr. No outside. Wait. Let me back up. One second. Go full screen for this one. The argument for why Derek Stingley Jr. could be a top 3 cornerback in the NFL is that in his consecutive seasons, the argument for him being a top 3 cornerback in the NFL is that Derek Stingley in consecutive seasons had a completion rate allowed below 48%, and 5 interceptions. No outside corner allowed fewer yards per target, 4.9 last season. He allowed the lowest passer rating among corners in 2024, and his 45.3 completion percentage rate last year was the second best in the NFL. And now you see the pictures of him. He's gotten bigger. He's bulkier. This defense has more around it. There's nowhere to really attack this defense. So Derek Stingley will be a household name, if not already, in 2025. Kamari Lassiter, he recorded 10 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, and scored on a safety in 14 games last year. Derek Stingley matches up with the top receivers. Lassiter allowed a lower completion rate than his all-pro teammate last year. The weaknesses on this team, we all know, is the offensive line. Titus Howard has shifted inside the guard. Blake Fisher is probably the full-time right tackle. They allowed 52 sacks last year, which is the most of any playoff team. 22nd in EPA per play. That's due to the offensive line. They had the 5th fastest time to pressure, 2.58 seconds. Just looking, this offensive line, running through these numbers again, their 2024 numbers were just god-awful for the Houston Texans offensive line. 52 sacks, which is the most by any playoff team. 22nd in EPA per play, mostly due to the offensive line. the 5th fastest time to pressure allowed at 2.58 seconds. That's an entire half second less than the Baltimore Ravens, who were number 1. Imagine what you could do with a half second in a clean pocket. They had the 2nd highest stuffed rate. That's a run that is stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. They had the 2nd lowest success rate. This offensive line can only go up in 2025. They've reshuffled the deck. They've moved everybody around. They got half of the players out of there. So they cannot be bottom 5 yet again if they want to succeed in 2025. Their ability to finish after the play was a weakness. They had the worst receiving yards after the catch over expected with just 59 last year. The play calling was a weakness. We know what Bobby Slowick did. Early down pass rate was just 55%, which was 17th in the league. Their play action drop back rate was 13th at just 26%, and the motion was not there. I mean, you could say the linebacker is a weakness, kind of reaching at that point. Their cap, they have the 7th most committed money. Their top 5 players as far as 2025 money is Danielle Hunter, Dalton Schultz, Titus Howard, Derek Stingley Jr., and C.J. Stroud. $12 million in cap space. Anybody they would go pick up? I don't think. I mean, are there any offensive linemen left? I mean, they brought in so many offensive linemen, they don't need to bring in anyone else. I don't think there's anybody worth bringing in at this point. They hold on to that money and see if they have any injuries throughout the season to try to go get someone. Or trade, I guess. So, their dead cap. Sorry, lost where I was at for a second. Okay. $43 million dead cap, which is 10th most. Stephon Diggs and Laramie Tunsil make up the majority of that. Looking at their schedule. Let's bring up their schedule here. There it is. Texans have the same strength of schedule as the Bucs. They have 4 primetime games against opponents that had a combined record of 52-16 last year, with 2 of them reaching the AFC Championship in the Bills and the Chiefs. Week 1 at Los Angeles Rams. Week 2, Monday Night Football against the Bucs. Week 3 at Jacksonville. Week 4, Tennessee at home. Week 5 at Baltimore. This is such a tough start, Jesus Christ. At least they have the bye after that. When they play Baltimore, they've just been blown out. They're 0-3 over the last 3 years, outscored 90-21. The offense is yet to score a touchdown against Baltimore, and C.J. Stroud has only thrown over 200 yards for once. You know, their defense has been top 10 every year since DeMeco Ryans has been there. Struggles against Baltimore. They allow 4 more points per game than every other team. Week 6 bye. Week 7, Monday Night Football at Seattle. Week 8, San Francisco at home. They went 7-4 when playing indoors last year and 3-3 when playing out. At home against Denver. At home against Jacksonville. Away against Tennessee. Thursday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. At Indy. And then Sunday Night Football at KC. Excuse me. They were 2-4 in their 6 primetime games in 2024. Which prevented them from landing a top 3 seed in the playoffs. Their only wins came against the Bears and the Cowboys, who had a 12-22 combined record. And they lost to the Lions, Ravens, and Chiefs, who had a 42-9 record. They just got to do better this year. They finished the season at home against Arizona and Las Vegas. They traveled to Los Angeles against the Chargers on a Saturday game. And then they finished at home with Indy. Top odds for their players. MVP, Stroud has the 8th best odds at plus 2,500. Nico has the best odds as Offensive Player of the Year, 5th best at plus 1,700. Will Anderson Jr., 5th best Defensive Player of the Year at plus 1,200. Higgins has the best Offensive Rookie of the Year odds on this team at plus 4,000. No one as far as Defensive Rookie of the Year. DeMeco, he's not winning Coach of the Year. He's plus 4,000. Like, they would have to go undefeated for him to win it at this point. The drop-off candidates, I would say the defense in general, can it be replicated what they've done in the last few years? Possibly. The X factors is not even the quarterback at this point. It's just the offensive line. The offensive line is the X factor. This team is going to go as far as the offensive line can take them. We know what we're getting out of everybody else. So we're going to finish them up. And we're going to go over our outcomes for the Houston Texans. All realistic, but the best outcome for them is that CJ Stroud continues to be a top 10 quarterback. The offensive line is ranked 22nd versus last or dead last. The defense replicates what they did last season, maybe even better with the additions that they've had. And the AFC South is still just god-awful. They finish at what, 12-5, 13-4? They could be fighting for a 1-2 seed just due to that weak division and having a great record. Worst case scenario on the opposite end of that is that CJ Stroud becomes David Carr with this terrible offensive line. The project of revamping it does not work at all. This affects the entire offense. It becomes the same as last year. The defense is still top 10. I mean, that's their floor. But then they're fighting for the division if somebody steps up a little bit at 9-8. But my realistic expectation, what I think is going to happen for the Houston Texans, is that CJ is about the same as what he's been, maybe possibly a little bit better in 2025. The offensive line has improved, but minimally. But it's more functional, especially with a new offensive coordinator, which will make a world of difference. This defense wins some games with the offensive line still having woes. Top 3 defense, because, I mean, it's just insane when you look at the talent that's on the defensive side of the ball. They run away with the division. 12-5 is a realistic outcome and can get to the AFC Championship if they get hot at the end of the year. So that'll do it for yet another episode of Chasing Data. If you've made it this far, please like and subscribe to everything you see down here below. Do Champions, King NFL Stats, @Do Champions on every social media account. We only have 12 Sundays left until the NFL is back, and I can't wait to get here. Starting next week, we will be inside the top 10 with team number 9, and we will do one team per episode. Until then, see you.